Hello, hello, and welcome to Module 2 of the Radical Self-Care Roadmap. I'm here with you today to share with you this incredible Module 2 as a way in which for you to continue on your journey for self-care. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and screen share, and we're going to jump right in. Okay, so you have in your membership area Module 2, it's already here. This is what's happening right this minute. We're in the middle of this Module 2. And in Workbook, pages 18 through 30, you have this right here for you. So here we are. This is Module 2. Module 1, as a refresh, was all about embodiment. How do we take these teachings and bring them into our bodies so that we are able to hear and respond to the messages that our bodies are giving us? Now, the beautiful thing is that, as I said in Module 1, we are not just building on top of each module with the next module, but instead we are marbling the modules together so that they become interconnected and are able to support us in this journey. So this module number 2 is all about the mind. It's about resetting your mind. Module 2, reset your mind. There's 4 pieces to this. Number 1, we're going to focus on how we mend mental energy leaks. We're going to focus on how we are able to have a radical thinking reframe. Once we recognize where those leaks are, how do we reframe? How do we make a shift or a change? We're going to begin the second phase, part 2 of crafting your personalized self-care schedule. And then once again, we're going to be practicing throughout the entirety of this week. So here we are, mend mental energy leaks. Whether you start getting real with how you are using wine, for example, or Netflix to cope with your day-to-day ways of being, or you start asking yourself some meaningful questions about what really needs to shift inside of you for the world to not feel so crazy out there, what we'll find is that giving yourself a really good dose of both vigilance, thoughtfulness, and compassion, you're going to shine some light on how you do you. And then knowing how your mind operates is going to help make it all the more easier for you to integrate life-size practices and strategies to enhance your health, reset your nervous system, and reclaim your life. Remember this, absolutely everything is energy, and absolutely everything has the potential to affect your energy. In this way, by being intentional and conscious about how you are cultivating, directing, and storing energy or life force that is moving through you, there will be a deep and meaningful and respectful relationship that you are able to build with universal energy. So come on back to me. I just want to repeat that again. If and when you are able to be intentional and conscious about how you are cultivating, directing, and storing your life force, it is in this way that organically and naturally you will begin to build a deep and respectful relationship with universal energy. That universal energy moves in and through you as well. The beautiful part about that is that the energy then is reliable for you. Once you've built that relationship with it, you will be able, in a flash, to rely upon it and call upon it when you need it most. However, if you fail to cultivate, direct, and store energy, there's no way that you can count on it when you need it. It becomes more willy-nilly. And we want it to be there for you when you need it. So we're going to take a step back. I want you to think about energy like currency. If you tend to it and you notice when your account, your energy account, is increasing or decreasing, and you pay attention to the causes of those ups and downs, you will slowly and steadily be able to depend upon the energy in your account and be able to rely upon it in any moment when you need it. You will also know exactly what ought to be done to increase that energy, access that energy, and replenish it. So I'll say it again if you missed it. Absolutely everything is energy, and absolutely everything has the potential to affect your energy. Your job is to pay attention. When you pay attention to your inner landscape, as we did for the entirety of Module 1, and will continue to do with each of the following modules, you are essentially building an intimate, reliable relationship with energy. So then, let's take it a little bit deeper. Mind stuff that goes on in your mind, also known as your thoughts, are also and merely energy. And so just as you have been paying attention to how your mind is sending you messages, the next logical and profoundly impactful step on this journey is to pay attention to how your mind is sending you messages through your thoughts. So hear me when I say positive, life-fulfilling thoughts nourish you, expand you, grow you, give you hope, and fill your energy account. Now, let it be known that your thoughts are not who you are, and they are not, hear me now, they are not associated in any way with your worth. They are merely sparks and twitches and sometimes flying monkeys that have shown up in your energy body as a result of what has happened in the past and what now needs to come to the surface. Remember, everything is energy. And the mind is going to do what the mind does. It's going to think. Your work is to notice first that it is thinking, and then begin to pay attention to what it is thinking. Then, if you like what the mind is thinking, that is, you keep doing it. Your thoughts will expand you. They'll bring you joy, peace, compassion, vitality, and connection. If that's what's happening when you notice your thoughts, that you're feeling all of that expansion and peace and joy and compassion and vitality and connection, I say keep doing what you're doing. Great work. But if instead the thoughts that you have, which by the way, our thoughts are more than 90% repetitive, if the thoughts that you're having are leading you down dead-end roads or paralyzing you, keeping you stuck or depleting you, then I say, now is the time to mend some mental energy leaks. And I'll say it again, positive, life-fulfilling thoughts nourish you, expand you, grow you, give you hope, and fill your energy account. Therefore, our intention is to pay attention, to notice patterns, and then to do what we can do to cultivate positive thought patterns and shift the negative ones. For this reason, I've created the Radical Thinking Reframe worksheet for you to bring to light the mental patterns and habits that are causing you to waste your energy, leading to leaks and inevitable depletion. So I want to take just a step back here. I want for us to turn our attention to the power of the mind. And to keep this super simple, all we're really saying is what you feed is going to grow. So if you're feeding negativity, if you're feeding fear, if you're feeding anxiety, and feeding it can just be turning your attention to it and saying, oh, I feel so anxious. I feel so anxious. I feel so anxious. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. You might as well be given frustration and anxiety cookies. What we're saying is that when we are able to notice that the mind is thinking and what the mind is thinking and how those thoughts are affecting us, we then are able to slowly and steadily plug up the leaks of the energy that's not serving us so that we once again can fill ourselves with vitality, connection, joy, compassion, and impact. And that's where we're going. Okay, so coming on back. Therefore, let's get started. So the Radical Thinking Reframe is where we're going next. Once you've begun to identify your thoughts, your patterns, and your habits, that are not serving you, this is the time for a reframe, naturally. Now, I hope this is exciting, is as exciting for you as it is for me. I mean, because once you start to see that there are ways in which you're depleting your own energy, and you begin to understand the reasons beneath the reasons. In other words, for example, perhaps, oh, I'm eating too much sugar, but it's not the problem. Eating the sugar is the symptom because I'm really stressed out and I need to rest. Or I'm being so reactive to my family, but that's not what it's about either. It's really because my cup is empty. You can begin, once you know this, you can begin to make some subtle but potential shifts. So this exercise, the radical thinking reframe, will give you the opportunity to be kind, compassionate, and honest with yourself regarding 3 things, 1 to 3 things that you do this week that, well, let's just say you wish you'd have done a little bit differently. So here's a little bit of background to give you a greater perspective. Every woman, every single one of us has within us a limited thinker and a radical thinker. Let's start with the limited thinker. The limited thinker, she is just that, limited. She thinks she is limited in her options in any given moment or in any particular situation. And she often doesn't feel like she has choices. And so what does she do? She barks at her partner for leaving underwear on the floor, or she resents the fact that she's the only one who cleans or cooks, when in reality, someone else really could do those things, but most likely she might have to lower her standards a little. She also is most likely the very ambitious sort in whatever way she shows up in her life. And she might feel as though that if she wants something done right, she's going to have to do it herself. Or she's simply been taught that pleasing others always comes first. She also might be limited in thinking that she's a single mom. That's 2 limitations built into one, or an empty nester, or just an ordinary woman, or a survivor. Now, there's nothing wrong with thinking any of these things, nothing at all. The question is, when you close your eyes and you say, single mom, single woman, old woman, tired woman, when you say any of these things that you have labeled yourself as being, if there is a sensation inside of you, an implication that something is missing or that there's a lack, then this way of thinking for you is limited. But any label, for that matter, including 3-time winning Grammy star, or high-achieving Wonder Mom, or best cook, gardener, singer ever. Any label can box you in. Any label is limiting. But the radical thinker, woo-wee, the radical thinker, that's a totally different woman. So before I talk to you about what she is all about, let me just deepen your understanding of the word radical. Because I chose that word very intentionally for this program. And I chose that word very intentionally for this particular exercise. Radical comes from a Latin word dating back to the 1400s, radicalis, which means having roots. It also is defined as, quote, at the limits of control, unquote. Or my personal favorite, unconventional. I like this final definition because when exploring the meaning of the word conventional, one quickly discovers that conventional means coming from origins of tradition and one who is agreeable to history. Think convent, ladies. Think convent. So to be radical is to be willing to step beyond the limits of history, particularly if held onto for the sake of tradition, at the risk of not being agreeable. So I'm going to say that again. To be radical is to be willing to step beyond the limits of the way things have been done before, particularly if we're just doing them because that's the way they've been done. And the risk is that what you do may not necessarily be agreeable to all. To be radical is to tap into the roots of what it means to be a woman in the first place, long before all those strict rules about what was ladylike or appropriate or acceptable began shutting women down and began being replaced by practices that sometimes require us to be numbed up or dumbed down. It's worth saying that we're not being radical for the sake of proving oneself like a rebellious teenager. It's not that at all, but instead for the sole purpose of reconnecting to our roots, to our energy, so that we can be nourished from the earth and the sun and the rhythms of nature as they are taught to us through moon cycles and through the seasons of life and the seasons on the planet. So we are returning to our roots. Conscious, intentional choices that nourish us, return us to our roots, and allow us to grow and flourish. So therefore, a radical thinker, dear one, is expansive, trusting, connected to something greater within and without. She is tapped into a limitless source of energy, and she knows how to cultivate it, increase it, direct it, store it, and call upon it when she needs it. Now, just like the limited thinker, within every single one of us, there too is a radical thinker. And to be a radical thinker, to awaken that part of you, is to know that you have unlimited options before you, and that by taking care of yourself and tapping into the part of the brain that allows you to access an unlimited treasure chest of possibilities, it is from this place that you will flourish. So now I'm going to walk you through the exercise, because this is a super important and powerful practice that you can use throughout these 28 days and beyond. The radical thinking reframe exercise. So let's get set up. On the following pages, what you will see is that there are two columns. The column on the left is going to represent your limited thinker inside of you. And every woman has one. All of us have a tendency to organize our choices in the direction of familiar emotional landscape. We do it unconsciously. These choices represent where we feel comfortable, what feels familiar to us, and oftentimes is related to what we have learned it means to give and receive love in the form of a negative pleasure. Now, it may not necessarily feel negative, but negative pleasure is when we take pleasure from less than whole and liberating experiences unconsciously, because it is what we've always known. It is the deep familiar. The limited thinker operates from the place of being. Un momento. So now we're in Mexico. We're in Mexico. People knocking at the doors, dog barking, bienvenido. Daisy, por favor. Shh, basta. So coming on back. So you have two columns. You have your limited thinker on the left-hand side. You have your radical thinker on the right-hand side. The limited thinker is going to go and gravitate toward what's comfortable, what's familiar. And what we've learned oftentimes is a conditional way of loving. I'll love you if you do this and this and this. I'll keep loving you if you treat me this way, this way, this way. What we're talking about inside of our very own self in relationship to ourself is how it is that we move from that sensation of a negative experience and therefore being a limited thinker to a radical, wide open thinker. And that's your right-hand column. This is the part of you that is slowly and steadily surfacing. She's feeling and sensing experiences of positive pleasure that tune you into your larger self and being part of a limited, loving universe. When you feel in your bones and blood that the universe is conspiring on your behalf to give you everything that you need to rise into your next, best, and highest evolution, this, my dear, is the radical thinker. Garbage man. That's what's happening now. Okay, so you see the difference between these two. If it's not super clear, don't you worry at all, because it's going to take a little bit of time for you to get a hold of that and for you to be able to notice the differences. On the following pages, there's 3 different copies of the same document. At the top, you'll place the title and the description of a situation. Again, that situation is something that you do that you think, well, maybe I could have shown up a little bit better, or maybe I could have done that a little bit differently. It might be in relationship to someone in your household. It might be in relationship to your self-care. It might be in relationship to food. Any of these things could be the case. So you're going to just, first of all, take one sheet and choose and title and describe the situation. Then you're going to write in the left-hand column everything that you think, believe, and feel about a given situation. Don't get in the way at all about it. Just brain drain and let it be there. Then you're going to reverse each adjective or descriptive phrase that you've used to its positive opposite, perhaps a sensation, and write it in the right-hand column. Be creative as you may be. Take your time, play with the words, tinker, refine, and practice this phrase often, the one in the right-hand column, and notice how you feel when you do so. You can also use the website wordhippo.com to help you choose the most suitable positive opposite. So I'm going to just jump ahead to that exercise. So the limited thinker might be, I'm too much. I'm too much, right? So let's say that the situation was, I did a Zoom get together with girlfriends, and the limited thinker, it says, I talk too much, or I am too much. Or the limited thinker says, on the flip side, for a given situation, I'm not enough. My life isn't enough, right? The radical thinker says, if you said, for example, I'm too much, or I talk too much, the radical thinker says, I hold the possibility of the entire universe to move through me. The radical thinker says, we all, myself included, have the freedom to express. The radical thinker says, my voice comes like the wind through the leaves of the tree. It doesn't matter. I'm just throwing these out there. What you're wanting to do is to take something that makes you feel small and shift it into something expansive. Again, we are exploring. It's an exploration. So what you do next is, after you have these full lists, you've got your title and description of a particular topic, you place your limited thinking thoughts, whatever those may be, in this column. Your radical thinking thoughts, try those on over here. The first thing you're going to do, and you can journal about this, is ask yourself, what are the people, places, and things that provoke the limited thinker inside of me? And what choices am I making right now that reinforce her as the leading role in my life. Now, here's the thing. Don't overthink. Am I doing this right? If you've noticed that when you see the limited thinker, the things that she says feel small, and the one that the radical thinker is what you'd want to say to help grow a 12-year-old girl, if she said those limited thinking things, if what you'd want her to think and feel about herself, sense about herself, then you're onto it, right? That's all there is. Then you ask yourself, who are the people, places, and things that provoke the limited thinker inside of me? Drinking alcohol, staying up late, not exercising, and what choices am I making right now to reinforce her as a leading role in my life? Drinking alcohol, not exercising, staying up too late. You can see some of these things are going to be the same. Then in the second phase of that, you're going to ask yourself, who are the people, places, and things that provoke the radical thinker inside of me, right? Getting up early in the morning, making myself a morning smoothie, drinking water all day long, getting out in nature, calling my grandmother, right? Surrounding myself with a visionary council of women, whatever it may be. And what choices am I making right now that reinforce her, the radical thinker inside of me, as the leading role in my life? Then you start to take it even a little bit further in your journal exercise. When you're making decisions or choices, you ask yourself, what decision can I make right now that will fortify or expand my direct experience of the radical thinker? I want to be close to her. I want to be close to the one who says, my voice moves through me like the wind moves through the leaves of the tree. I want to be close to the one who says, I have every right to be here. I want to be close to the one who says, I am the entire universe in one body. Of course I want to create. I want to be close to the one who says, I can be anything that I dream, right? That's what I want to be close to. So the third piece of your journaling exercise is when making choices or decisions, ask, what decision can I make right now that will fortify or expand my direct experience of the radical thinker? And you can start small, like what you're going to eat for lunch, or medium-sized decision, who to invite to a dinner party or to a Zoom call you're having. Or third, whether or not you go to a particular event or travel or spend time with particular people. So this is the radical thinking reframe exercise. You have 3 copies of the exact same piece on page 24, 25, and 26. When you print your documents, you can go ahead and print those pages and then just title 3 different events in your life, whether it was you alone, you with food, you with exercise, you with your self-care, you with your children, with your work, with your partner, whatever it may be, and describe those, and then do the exercise as limited versus radical thinking, and then answer the 3 journal prompts that are on page 23. And that's the radical thinking exercise. Now, crafting your self-care schedule. This is the next piece. Let the fun continue. Throughout Module 1, you were able to begin to implement little by little baby steps towards self-care, starting from where you are and slowly and steadily adding in practices that soothe you, nourish you, grow you, inspire, ignite, and fill your cup, right? So this week, we're going to continue on with the day-by-day pages and the 28-day perspective calendar, and we're adding in a weekly schedule so that you may begin to plan out your weeks in a way that helps you see the progress that you're making, as well as see what challenges, or what we'll call weak links, that you run into, and what successes you're already ready to champion. We're calling those strong links. So I'm going to pull this up for you here. So you can see this right here. You can pull out your weekly calendar. You can print one for last week. You can do one for this week. Then you can do one through the 3rd module and the 4th module, just to have one for each week. Then for this week, beginning with Monday, you write down any radical self-care practices that you're doing. Anything you're doing for Tuesday. Perhaps you put a circle, as we see here, next to each one, and then you check it. You check off that circle when you complete it. This takes you through the week. Over here, what are the things that you're doing and you're doing well? What are the things that you're struggling with? Those are your weak links. What's getting in the way? And then your next steps, other than sharing it on in our Facebook group or sending me an email or telling someone who you're walking this journey with all about it. This way, we are turning our attention to the ways in which that we continue to grow and expand in our self-care practices. That's what it's all about. So, remembering, we are still in a very experimental time. And I suggest that you write everything in pencil and continue to pay close attention to what feels good, what expands you, what grows your energy, and what helps you to feel your wholeness. And that being said, I want to just bring to light that it isn't always easy when you first start. When the kids are tugging at your leg or your partner's frustrated with you that you're not doing something that he or she has grown accustomed to you doing, or your work is asking something of you, or you've grown accustomed to putting someone else first and you're taking that back and putting yourself first. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news for you around all of this. You may not get a standing ovation at this stage of the journey for taking care of yourself, but keep your cool, maintain an open heart, be compassionate with your family and your friends and those that you serve as they navigate the changes that you're making. And slowly they too will feel how brilliantly you shine and how present and alive you are as a result of you taking care of yourself in all of these ways. Keep trusting the journey, and most of all, keep trusting yourself. So now the practice. It's time to practice again, beloveds. First of all, let me remind you, if you are here, if you're showing up, you are doing great. You are here, you are showing up, and you are engaged. And I promise, even if you don't quite see or feel the full benefit yet of this journey, you will. I know that to be true in every cell in my body. Okay, so now that you've got a deeper understanding of what it means to embody your life, you'll be given a menu of practices to choose from in this module, and then you'll begin to sprinkle in little sparks of light into your life, more yet, to help you take better care of yourself, others, and the world, but you first, no exceptions. So just keep going, dear one, and take the menu on the following pages and pick and choose what moves you. Modify, tweak, revise, revamp, you name it. Let it be inspiration for you. Let it be literal, whatever works for you. Just take these things with what you're already doing and plug them into your day-by-days, your weekly schedule, and your 28-day perspective calendar. A little will go a long way. The moment you start to feel stressed because you have to take care of yourself, knock one or two things out. And finally, don't forget that this module builds upon the first, marbles with the body, and in doing so, upward we rise. Take self-care time for yourself, and slowly and certainly, I promise you, you will build a life that is untouchably happy, energized, inspired, impactful, and free. So here's the self-care menu. This is in your workbook. It's all here. Just a huge list of things that you can do to help inspire your practice. And then the review again, mending mental energy leaks, doing the radical thinking reframe exercise, taking part 2 of crafting your personal self-care plan with the weekly schedules, practicing, implementing, and then if you have questions, successes, roadblocks, curiosities, good shares, post them in our Facebook community. And remember, the most important thing that you can do is keep showing up. Absolutely everything else is extra credit. Thank you for being here today with me for module number 2. I look forward to our next module. Okay. Hello, beautiful people. Karen Steele, Heather Lewis, big hug. Could you talk more on the subtleties of the differences between turning, reframing, and denial or repression? Kristen, this is so rich for me. Okay, could you talk more on the subtleties of the difference between turning, reframing, and denial or repression. I need more information from you on that, Heather. I'm not clear as to what you're asking. What I can say, and I think you meant reframing. Did you mean turning? Because you put reframing. Reframing and denial or repression. So it's subtle, right? It is for sure subtle. Reframing is when we get really clear that what I'm doing is making me feel small. And I'm wanting everything that I do eventually to expand me and grow me and give me ways in which of rising. I want to feel as though I'm rising. So I want to answer this question more completely, and I may do that in our Facebook group, perhaps. I'm happy to do it here. I'm just not entirely clear on your question, and rather than going down that rabbit hole of pretending that I know what you say or what you're meaning, I'd rather get really clear on what you're meaning. Okay, Deb Stratton, Heather Lewis again, Josephine. This requires trusting that it is guaranteed to get better. Yay. Ooh, my work last week revealed that I deeply believe that anything worthwhile must be hard to be good. I believed that for a long time. I believed that for a long time. Seems like trust falls into the category of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, blah, blah, do it anyway, right? Blah, blah, just do it. Get on with it. Okay. Heather's going to expand more in an email, and I'm going to go ahead and share more about that. I'll respond to your question. Okay, that's it. Kristen, such a rich process. I'm so grateful that this is touching you. Needed this today. Dad's in the hospital after getting the second vaccine, working on going down victim rabbit hole and trying to steer toward compassion for the beings with COVID alone in hospitals. Developing on Lotus of Compassion, rising from this. Yes. And wait to worry. Wait to worry. It's good he's in the hospital, right? It's good he's in the hospital. It's good that he's being well cared for. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's it for this module. I'll be here with answers to your questions, and keep it coming. Big love to you. Have a glorious day. Ciao.